Okay, so we're continuing our sort of super fast tutorial of Python. If you want to do a sort of deep dive into Python, I guess, like I said, you should take one of the courses, or really um, just do that. And all of these are pretty good. I think the one that I posted on Carmen is this one, which might be this guy, W3 Schools Python. It's very basic. It sort of starts with the very basic stuff and proceeds and learnpython.org again sort of starts with the very basics and moves forward. Um, well, we don't want the ad, I guess. Anyway, you get the idea. NumPy, we just talked about NumPy briefly. So we can talk about basic operators, which would be things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, string formatting, how to manipulate strings. Condition would be if, then, else, statements, loops, for loops, while loops, and so on. How to write functions and call them. Classes and objects, it's not something that certainly in our course we've explicitly used, although one of the variables that you guys manipulated implicitly is actually a class in MATLAB um, or an object. Anyway, so we can do all that. And I actually encourage you to slowly go through one of these tutorials. Any one of them should be fine. Kaggle, for instance, has these tutorials. These tutorials actually allow you to, they have a way of actually typing, for you to type in pieces of Python code and this browser based sort of Python interpreter running the code that you write and checking your answer and so on. So you can have this interactive experience, or you can just go into Google Colab and essentially copy paste some of these tutorial things. Okay, so this is really what we did so far. Print hello world. In Python, actually, if you want to put a comment, you just go in regular Python, right? As opposed to Google Colab. If you want to do comments, you just go, this is a comment. So let's do that. I'm going to create a new piece of code and go, this is a comment. So that's just a comment, and then we can still go a equals 5. So it'll ignore this line, and then it's just like MATLAB's percentage sign. Okay. So what are we going to do next? I'm just going to use one of these things as an example, and just walk us through a couple of things. Okay. Data types. So there are a whole bunch of different data types, just like in MATLAB. String, integers, floating point, complex numbers. MATLAB also has all these kinds of types. There's also lists, which I think I want to say is similar to MATLAB's cell array. Other kinds of objects. Dictionaries. Boolean type, which is like true or false. Okay, again, MATLAB has that. Most programming languages will have it. Okay, so let's actually see some of that here. Okay, so I just said a equals 5, and then I'm going to actually go type a, run it. It says type a is int, so it's actually an integer. If I say a equals 5.0, and then say type a, it's actually a floating point number. If I say a equals np.py, type a, it's a floating point number. Okay, basically an approximation of a real number. Okay, so that's data types. If we say b equals hello, I'm just saving it, run, and then we can say type b be a string. Notice that at the end of this line, it no longer said int and then string. So really, if you want to make sure that the thing is returned, you should say print type A and print type B. So that's the right thing to do. And then run it. And then it'll say class float, A is floating point, and then class is string. Okay. So that's all about data types. Now, let me do list for a moment. So this is kind of a list. I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to do a new piece of code here, paste it, enter, and then go type X, run. Okay, it just says list. So remember, we had to say print type X. It says it belongs to the class list. Now that I've said list here, let's actually look at what how lists can be accessed. It says lists are used to store multiple items in a single variable. Okay. So the list, it turns out, can contain strings, can contain integers, can contain real numbers, whatever. It's pretty happy. It says whatever. That's rather similar to MATLAB's cell array, it's called. So if you go x equals curly braces, apple, banana, and then 3, 4, or whatever, it's happy sort of storing them all in a kind of a list. Okay. And it says list items are indexed. The first item has index 0, and then the second item has indexed 1, and so on. So this is super important to understand or internalize. Unlike in MATLAB, Python sort of array or list or whatever indexing, when you have a bunch of objects assembled in an array-like object or list-like object or a matrix-like object, the numbering of the indices starts from 0. So blah, 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 that's X. Let's run that. Notice that it doesn't say apple, it just says banana, just the second one. So if you really wanted to say all the things, you want to say print. Okay. Apple, banana, whatever, like print X of 3. Okay. Okay, so that's basically a list. And it allows you to, well, you can do print length. What is the length of X? What is the length of X? It has 4 elements. Len computes that. Oh, I said this list instead of X. So of course we didn't define this list. The name this list is not defined. So let's do that instead. Okay. You never want to say just 4. So maybe you should want to say the length of X is 4 or something. Oops, I guess I didn't put a comma there. Okay, so that works. So that's about lists for now. And then of course, we can say what type is it. We can print this. So it says class list. So that's about list. Okay. Now maybe we can look at other data types very briefly, just very briefly perhaps. Um, there's something called a tuple. Um, I'm going to have you guys look at it, what tuple means. Maybe click on this and look at how that is different from a list. Sort of looks very similar, so look that up. Range, that's kind of useful. I'm copying that. I'm going to say y equals range 6. Let me actually make that its own separate cell here, code, so that we can run that separately. Okay, just said, okay, I'm happy y equals range of 6. If you want to print it, you have to go print y. Okay, just says range 0, comma 6. Let's try something. We go print y of 0, okay? Print y of 0, 0. Print y of 1, 1. Print y of 2, y of 3, y of 4, 5. Then we can try 6, and it complains, okay? Range 6 is actually the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just because of everything starts from 0. That's Python's convention, I suppose, okay? Okay. So that's about range.